Brianna Turner has signed with the Indiana Fever per the WNBA transition page. Some depth for the Fever front court. She played for, again, I believe she played for Chicago.
Angel Reese just took another major L. The Chicago Sky were desperate to land Brianna Turner in free agency. But at the last moment, she shocked everyone, choosing to sign with the Indiana Fever instead.
So in a kind of a surprising turn of events, the Indiana Fever have made yet another move this offseason, and they have signed Bree Turner to the roster.
Reese's response? A cryptic, frustrated post that instantly went viral. Fans immediately jumped on it, questioning whether Reese is struggling to recruit talent to Chicago, while Caitlin Clark continues building the next WNBA powerhouse. But this story is bigger than just one free agency decision. It highlights the power shift happening in the WNBA, where Clark and the Fever are emerging as the new dominant force, while Reese is left wondering what went wrong. So why did Turner snub Chicago? And what does this mean for Angel Reese's future in the league? When Brianna Turner's free agency decision was first announced, it didn't seem like a big deal.
So in what might be the biggest surprise in all of free agency, the Indiana Fever have just signed Brianna Turner. Yeah, I think that this is a shock. I don't hate this. I actually don't hate this for the Fever.
Turner, a defensive specialist, was expected to attract interest from multiple teams, and Chicago was one of the strongest suitors. But as soon as she signed with the Indiana Fever, social media erupted, not because of the move itself, but because of Angel Reese's reaction. Reese posted a simple but loaded response. Wow. Just wow. That was it. No further explanation, no follow-up. But in the world of social media, those three words said everything. WNBA Twitter immediately ran with it, interpreting Reese's words as frustration, if not outright anger, over losing out on a key free agent. This wasn't just about one player picking another team. It fueled a larger narrative that Reese is struggling to bring talent to Chicago, while Clark is effortlessly attracting top-tier players to Indiana. The contrast was impossible to ignore. Reese has always been vocal on social media, and that's part of what makes her such a polarizing figure. But this time, her reaction wasn't received as confidence or swagger. It was seen as frustration. The message was clear. Chicago wanted Turner badly, and losing her to their biggest rival was a tough blow.
But lads, this is not great news, for the Chicago Sky, who are a team that obviously, look, they're rebuilding. This is a team that is 100% rebuilding. The problem is they don't own their pick. So if the Chicago Sky run it back, they're probably not making the playoffs next year. Look, I think there's going to be an improvement from Angel Reese. I think there's going to be an improvement from Cardoso. But that team with no Kennedy Carter, it's going to be real tough to get any offensive power.
And here's where things get even more interesting. Turner reportedly took a pay cut to sign with the Fever. That means she could have made more money elsewhere, possibly even in Chicago. But instead, she chose to play alongside Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. That decision speaks volumes. But Turner's decision wasn't just a loss for Reese. It was a clear sign that Indiana Fever is building something far bigger than anyone expected.
Last 4 championships in the NBA, all of those have been won by teams that have great chemistry, that have stuck together over the years. You have Boston last year, you have Denver, you have the Milwaukee Bucks, you have the Warriors who stuck together in a year that in 2021 that they thought that they wouldn't win again. So that's a testament to chemistry, cohesion, how players get along. That stuff is very important, and it's sometimes more important than just on paper the skill that you have on the court. So I'm so glad that the Fever front office is thinking about all of these things. And like she said, they're hand selecting these players.
Brianna Turner's decision wasn't just a one-off move. It was part of something much bigger, a complete transformation of the Indiana Fever into a WNBA super team. Just 1 year ago, the Fever were struggling to stay competitive. Now they've assembled one of the most stacked rosters in the league, and players are willingly taking pay cuts just to be part of it.
What the Fever organization is doing is nothing less than phenomenal, in my opinion. They are taking this young, talented core that they have with Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark, and they're adding veteran players that Stephanie White has already worked with. Let's talk about that too, and has chemistry with and knows the work ethic of. And they are building this super team, make no mistake about it, that is going to give you.
This kind of shift doesn't happen overnight. It takes star power, a winning vision, and the right leadership. And right now, Indiana has all three. Their off-season moves were nothing short of a masterclass in team building. Brianna Turner, DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson. These aren't just solid additions, they're game changers. Turner brings elite defense alongside Aaliyah Boston, forming a front court that can shut down anyone in the league. Bonner is a proven veteran scorer who knows how to win big games. Howard adds more toughness and versatility to the lineup. Cunningham is a fearless competitor who can shoot and bring the energy every night. Colson is a locker room leader and fan favorite who fits perfectly into Indiana's rising culture. But here's the most shocking part. Turner chose this over bigger offers. That means Indiana isn't just attracting talent, they're becoming a destination. Players want to be there, and it all comes down to one thing, Caitlin Clark. The moment Clark was drafted, everything changed. She's not just a rookie, she's a magnet for talent. And her presence, combined with Aaliyah Boston's dominance, has completely fast-tracked Indiana's rebuild. And now people aren't just talking about Indiana as a playoff team. They're already being called a championship contender. The Fever aren't just stacking talent, they're building the next dynasty. But while the Indiana Fever are stacking talent and building a potential dynasty, the Chicago Sky are heading in the opposite direction.
Is officially underway, Annie. So when you see these names and the options that the Sky have, what do you think that they're cooking up?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because Angel and Camilla are very interesting pieces. And when you're talking about, getting the right players in here, there is intrigue when you have young core pieces like that, because you could be part of developing them and developing towards a title contending season. But the reality is the Sky are still very far from that. And so this year, the focus really has to be on getting players in who are going to bridge that gap between this season and next.
Free agency was supposed to be the moment where Chicago took a big step forward, giving Angel Reese the help she needed. Instead, it turned into an absolute disaster. The Sky didn't just fail to attract big names, they actively lost key pieces. Marina Mabrey was moved mid-season. Kennedy Carter wasn't re-signed. Diamond DeShields left for Connecticut. And now they've completely struck out in free agency. But here's the most embarrassing part. Angel Reese promised she was building a winning culture in Chicago. She wanted to be a leader, someone who could attract talent and turn the Sky into contenders. Instead, players are running in the opposite direction. Brianna Turner was just the latest in a long list of stars choosing not to play with Reese, and this isn't just a coincidence. While Indiana Fever is viewed as a rising powerhouse, the Sky are being mocked as a team stuck in no man's land. Social media is calling them a junior varsity team compared to Indiana's Avengers-style roster. Some are even questioning if Reese's personality is turning players away. And it gets even worse. Chicago doesn't even have a first-round draft pick this year because they traded it away. That means no young stars coming to save them. So now the Sky are left with a struggling roster, no top draft pick, and a franchise player in Angel Reese, who is watching her influence fade in real time. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark isn't just attracting talent, she's becoming the centerpiece of the entire WNBA. And if there was any doubt about that before, this offseason just erased it completely. The Indiana Fever built their entire roster around her. Brianna Turner, DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham.
The Fever did not come to play. They are on a mission to win now, like 2025 championship season incoming. They were so quiet during free agency. And in the past 24 hours, boom, boom, boom. Re-signed Kelsey Mitchell to a max deal. Picked up Natasha Howard, bringing her back to the Indiana Fever, where she was originally drafted. And then they just announced a three-way trade, sending Alyssa Smith to Dallas and Sophie Cunningham coming to the Fever. This team in 24 hours just got exponentially better.
Every move the team made was designed to create the perfect environment for Clark to shine. And that's not an exaggeration. Fever coach Stephanie White and general manager Amber Cox had one clear goal: give Caitlin Clark everything she needs to succeed immediately.
Party pieces that Stephanie White and Amber Cox is going after. They're going after ready elite talent, kind of, they know their responsibility. They know what they need to do. You know what I'm saying? They don't really have to do a whole lot of coaching like that, teaching plug and play pieces, and women that are going to come in and make immediate impact. That's what you want to see from this basketball team. That's what you see from elite teams across the league.
Turner and Howard give her a defensive wall so she doesn't have to carry as much on that end. Bonner provides veteran scoring, so Clark isn't forced to take bad shots. Cunningham adds toughness and outside shooting, giving Clark more space to operate. But here's where things get wild. People thought Clark needed time to develop, that she would struggle adjusting to the WNBA's pace. That couldn't be further from the truth. Clark already has the rock, the keys, and the green light. The Fever aren't treating her like a rookie. They're treating her like the face of the franchise.
Throughout the year, WNBA players were demanding to be given credit for elevating the league. Angel Reese claimed that she, along with their pretend friends in the mainstream media, they wanted us to believe that the WNBA was exploding in popularity. They wanted to keep all the credit for themselves while downplaying the impact of the only star in the league, Caitlin Clark.
And they're not stopping at just building a winning team. They're making sure Clark's brand is just as dominant as her game. From national TV games to exclusive interviews, the WNBA is pushing Clark into superstardom. And why wouldn't they? She's the biggest name in women's basketball, the player bringing in new fans, breaking viewership records, and selling out arenas. But there's another layer to this. The WNBA needs Clark to succeed because for the first time in years, there's a real power shift happening in the league. But with the Fever's rise, another storyline is unfolding. The fall of the WNBA's most dominant team, the Las Vegas Aces.
The Las Vegas Aces are on the brink of being eliminated from the WNBA playoffs, and recently they have been in the news for all the wrong reasons.
For the past few seasons, the Las Vegas Aces have been the standard of excellence in the WNBA. Back-to-back championships, superstar talent, and a winning culture that seemed unstoppable. But dynasties don't last forever. And right now, the Aces are crumbling at the worst possible time.
I mean, obviously, we have to get better. We have to really take a sharp look at ourselves, look ourselves in the mirror, see our shortcomings, and then, you got to make the moves necessary, whatever that means, to put the best product that we possibly can. It's not going to be the same group probably next year. It just won't.
They didn't just lose key players. They lost foundational pieces that made their championship runs possible. Chelsea Gray is dealing with injuries, and there's no guarantee she'll return at full strength. Kelsey Plum was traded to the Los Angeles Sparks, breaking up one of the most lethal backcourts in the league. Sydney Colson left for Indiana, adding another piece to the Fever's growing powerhouse. Suddenly, Las Vegas isn't the same dominant force anymore. And the worst part? Free agents aren't rushing to join them. That's a massive red flag. It used to be that if a player wanted to win a championship, they signed with the Aces. Now, they're looking at Indiana instead. Even Aja Wilson, the heart and soul of the Aces, has to be watching this unfold with concern. Because for the first time, she's not the most talked about star in the WNBA. Caitlin Clark has completely shifted the conversation, and the Fever are stacking so much talent that people are already calling them the new favorites. And if the Aces can't keep up, they'll go down as the shortest dynasty in WNBA history. That's the reality of sports. Dominance never lasts forever. And right now, the WNBA isn't just witnessing a power shift, it's watching the rise of a new empire. This isn't just a regular WNBA offseason. It's a seismic shift that's reshaping the league. Angel Reese is losing influence while the Chicago Sky struggle to attract talent. Indiana Fever have gone from underdogs to super team status in record time. Caitlin Clark is the clear face of the WNBA's future, with a team built entirely around her. The Las Vegas Aces dynasty is fading fast, and free agents are choosing Indiana instead. The rivalry between Clark and Reese is still fueling debate, But for now, one thing is certain. Clark is winning both on and off the court. And with Indiana building a potential dynasty, the rest of the WNBA better be ready.